Hey, what is up, guys? And welcome back to another Magic the Gathering online league. We're back with Basking Broodscale on the draw for game 1. Let's grab the Blade of the Bloodchief. Draw. Ancient Stirrings. We're looking for Broodscale. There's the Broodscale. And pass. And pass. Alright, so it looks like Affinity, so we need to play around. Most of all is going to be Metallic Rebuke. There's Saga. Springleaf is a dead card. Now, Opal's online for blue. 2, 3, oh. Tezzeret. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Bobble. They can untap Opal or Darksteel's Citadel. Interesting. 2 in hand. They could also search. Search for an artifact. 1 or less. What do you find? Portable Hole. Okay, so basically I can't play Broodscale next turn. Understood. 2, 4, 6. I need 6 mana. Ancient Stirrings. Cast Ancient Stirrings. So there's Glaring Flesh Raker, which does make this interesting. A second blade as well. Grab the Flesh Rake. Play Eldrazi Temple. And then pass. And pass. I'm also a bit worried about a Pithy Needle here, to be honest. Pinnacle. That's right. Tezzeret gets loyalty for every artifact. Wait, when it enters the battlefield? Oh. Oh. Oh, that's frightening. I see. Saga trigger. You can make a construct, bump it up to 6. Huh. Thoughtcast 3. Portable Hole in hand. Ornithopter. Yeah, like I said, I'm right now afraid of main deck Pith. Springleaf. So now you can ult. And it reads... At the beginning of combat, put 3. Okay. Huh. Yeah, that is a bit frightening. We know the Portable Hole in hand. Darksteel Citadel. Oh, that's cute. It's indestructible as well. Alright. Oh, now I'm a bit scared. Draw. Ancient Stirrings. I mean, we just need to survive a turn. Ancient Stirrings. There is the K command. That's what I was looking for. So what I can do here then is I know for a fact I don't have a Metallic Rebuke. I'm actually going to hold because they're going to make a construct. I want to exile that construct and then make tokens, I think. So at this point, I'm going to pass and hold the K command. They make the construct. Tezzeret triggers. I will ramp and exile. Exiling the construct. This way they only have 1 construct. So construct down, Tezzeret triggers. Next turn we can win. Makes another construct. Yes. triggers, what do you grab is the question. If it's a Pith Needle, then I'm SOL, to be completely blunt. Lavaspur Boots is doable. Tezzeret can fetch for a... oh god, Trample. Maybe I should have waited, actually. Shadow Spear. Portable Hole. Yes, sacrifice in response. Okay. That's fine. So you can put 6 counters on something. That doesn't have trample, though. Yeah, so we're fine with this. I have to block the construct. Okay. Okay. I guess they don't know about the ballista. So that's 11. We block the construct. Go to blocks. Block construct. Pass and full. They have 0 cards in hand. No Pithy Needle on board. Bobble. Target me. No blue, so no Metallic Rebuke. So, do I need green here? So we could just lab. We can Flesh Rake. Blade. Trigger. Broodscale. Trigger. So, I just want to confirm here. 1, 2, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. So lab, imprint, cast, Flesh Rake, blade, trigger, ATB, Broodscale, triggers, equip, sack, triggers. And this alone should just get us there. And then triggers. Alright, so this is Affinity with Tezzeret, which is interesting. I, for some reason, did not realize that was on ETB and not cast. And I'm like, oh, I'm in danger. I can only assume opponent will bring in Pithy Needle. The good news is we're going to bring in Wastegate Battle Mage anyways. I think Thief is reasonable. Soul Guideliner, we didn't see Emery or Tamio, but I feel like we can assume it's here. Bauble also is an option. It would counter their 0 mana artifacts, but does that do enough? Especially with Pinnacle Emissary, I'm not sure it does. We really can't cut any of our 7 mana life spells. Like, we can cut our normal creatures like Flesh Rake and Ballista. We already trimmed on Rumble to make up for the number of 7 mana value spells, which makes this tricky. Might is decent here because of Saga. I wonder if, yeah, cutting Bauble. I didn't see Emery, so maybe cut Soul Guide. I feel like normally I probably wouldn't bring in Thief, but I think given Tezzeret, maybe Thief is correct. With Pinnacle Emissary, I'm also tempted like to bring in Fire Spout, because it can sweep up those small tokens. But I don't think I have enough room for that. Not seeing Emery or Tamio makes me think I might not need Dismember here, which I think I have in place of Thief. I suppose we can keep it like this. Yeah, okay. That's one thing I don't like about the lab version. I am testing it out because it has been performing well. The thing is, it just is really, really tight on the mana base. And overall deck construction. This is appealing, though. So we want to imprint. We want to play. Ooh. I can drop the thief. Done. Reveal. Play. Okay. Pitch. Pass. Starting town. Trigger. I mean, there's Blade of the Blood Chief. Draw. Imprint. And pass. Paying cost. Emissary. Warp. Yep. So 2, 3, 4. The only thing is, so I could theoretically K command here, and I think I probably still will. All the Ornithopters. And I'm glad that the lands that they played weren't sagas, because the constructs would get big. Warp 1, Warp 2, K command. The thing is, I need a land plus a payoff. If I can get both of those, then this might be a turn 2. There's a land, because 2, 3, 4, sack. So keep the grove. If I can find a payoff, I win. Draw. Actually, that works. So in that case, play the grove. Cast. Equip. I mean, this is something that I mentioned when I was testing Lab, that's one of the huge benefits of it, is it can enable a turn to win. But it is also highly, it very much needs Gemstone Caverns in a lot of cases. But it can enable these interesting turn 2 wins. But yeah, Double Blade allows us to go infinite with infinite tokens, infinite power on board. So even if they get rid of the Broodscale, I'll have a million tokens that have a million toughness, etc. So solid win for Basking Broodscale. Devour, as we've seen, has been good in the list, so that is maybe a reason to be running Lab, even though it is very, very restrictive on the mana, very restrictive on the deck, because you don't really want to mess with the core of the deck too much, right? It also does make me wonder, like, okay, do I want Vexing Bubble main? Do I want Soul Guide Lantern main? Do I want Haywire Might main? So it also makes me consider those flex slots for Urza toolbox slots of whether or not we want to move some of those into the side again. But with that being said, we'll be back for match 2. Alright, we're back for match 2 on the draw for game 1. Well, we need a green source, but we do have Temple in the Temple and the K command X2, so that is a consideration here. Devour acts as a quote-unquote green source, as it can find us one. Plains. Turn 1 Plains, Guide of Souls, okay. So we do want to deal with that soon. Devourer. And this is where, like, on one hand, we want the Grove of the Burn Willows. On the other hand, I think Basking Broodscale. We have 10 green sources in the deck. I guess 11 if you count Springleaf Drum, but only 4 copies of Broodscale. So we have to take the Broodscale here realistically. So I'm going to take the Broodscale. I'm going to play the E-Temp. We're going to pass, and we're going to hold. Likely we're going to K-Command Exile Scry Draw next turn. Flage to Yard. Yep, I will pass. I guess actually, so here is a thought. I don't care about Guidasouls or Ocelot Pride due to the sheer fact that we could just win, right? There's that thought as well. Maybe that is true. We just scry draw instead with K command. Try and find a green source, try and find a blade. And just go for the win, ignoring kind of what they're doing. It's probably correct, as much as I do want to stabilize. Yeah, I'm gonna pass, hold the K command. The other option is obviously also play the Flesh Raker as a blocker, but likely the Pride's gonna float anyways. Another benefit of the lab, of course. Johnny's fine. Johnny ETB, trigger. So I got a Souls trigger, Johnny trigger. So again, yeah, they would float the Ocelot Pride if I played the Flesh Rake. Alright. Yeah, so I think I just need to ignore what they're doing as long as I'm not dead. We also could find our one of Allah's Dust and clear board, which would be pretty good. I just realized it's Sluggish Trio. I've played against them a number of times. I'll take my beats, 5 down to 14. Not much we do about this. And then they missed their land drop, which is notable here. I will K command. We also could devour, I suppose, but I'm not sure if that's what I want to do. And done. Lab Rumble, bottom draw. Wanted to see a green source there. Springleaf actually does act as a green source. That will work. I just need a blade. Oh. Well, that is our Allah's Dust. So, in lab. Imprint. Springleaf Drum is mana neutral. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As is. So we can also Allah's Dust. Not Allah's Dust. Malevolent Rumble to dig. Green, tap, Rumble. Looking for Blade. No Blade, but second Flesh Rake and Broodscale. We'll take the Broodscale. Well, I guess we could use the Flesh Rake as a Lightning Rod for Galvanic Discharge. That is a consideration as well. Yeah, so we'll do that. We'll grab the Flesh Rake, pitch the Broodscale. Is a little bit telling of what we have in hand, admittedly. Allah's Dust. And pass. And pass. Windswept Teeth fetch, 3 in hand. And Flage. Helix, target me. So they do have enough cards in Yard for Flage, but they did miss their land drops, and they need to draw into a land. K command. So with K command, I think it makes sense here. Actually, how much mana do I have right now? I have access to 6. So I'd have 4 spawns, 5 mana. If I can find Blade, cast, equip, Ballista. And I think we go for Blade then, right? Let's go for the win while we can. Shields are down. If they play Flage, they don't have the win. Whiff on the Blade. So I'm thinking bottom all keep the K command and K command if needed. I guess like we could play the Saga and find the blade that way, but we're more likely to just find it off the top at this rate. Could also keep the Ugin, I suppose. I'm gonna go bottom top. So we could K-command now, but again, I'm not too concerned. If needed, I can exile Blade. Let's say they haste it, then we can always exile. There's the Arid Mesa. They fetch, they play Flage, fine, right? They Helix me for 3, I go down to 8. I don't care, because if I just find a Blade, I win. There's Flage, ETB. Target me, that's fine. We'll pass in full. Draw. Again, all we're doing is looking for Blade. I will cast. We have to hold up the green source. So hold up this green. Worst comes to worst, we devour the Flage. I suppose we dig 8 deep. We should hit one. I say as we somehow don't hit one. Interesting. That is shocking, in fact. I wonder if I just bottom all? We could. We have access to 9 mana. Triple Flush Rake I don't think kills, and we could also Emrakul. That's an option. Not sure it's a good one, though. I mean, we attack Flage into Emrakul. Yeah, that's a thought. Also, let's see, actually. How much damage is Quadruple Flesh Rake? Because the first Flesh Rake is 0. The second one is 2. The third one is 4. The next one is 6. Could we just drain him to death? There might be a world where we can, but I can't play all 4 this turn. I think I bottom, though. Bottom the Broodscale. Now the question is, do we play the Emrakul or not? Yeah, no, you know what? I'm going to say, screw it, we're not. I'm just going to exile. There we go. I was going to say, we'll just exile the Flage if needed. So in that case, I can cast Broodscale. So green, Broodscale, Blade, Equip, always yield, Equip, triggers, always yes, always yield. 2, 3. Flash Rake. Yes. Make life simpler. And Bone Scoops up. I appreciate it. This is energy. Yeah, sometimes, like, if you just have the win, I think just ignoring your opponent's game plan is probably the better move than trying to interact. Let's see now. So we want to cut Vexing Bauble, cut the Haywire Mite. We need the Soul Guide Lantern. We don't quote unquote need, we want the Soul Guide Lantern. I have 5 slots to work with. Dismember, Fire Spout. Because we need to worry about Clarion Conqueror. I would like Thief for Johnny and Goblin Bombardment. I just don't have the room for it is the problem. We can probably bring in a Thief if we go to game 3 by cutting the Gemstone. That makes sense. Yeah, let's do that. Again, that's one of the issues with this version, I fear. Run it back. Maybe I'll put Soul Guide Lantern back in the side. Yeah, I'll keep this. I'd love a 7-mana value spell off top for the K command. We'll pass. Windswept Teeth, Plains, Guide of Souls, pass. Draw, Devourer. So, this is interesting. Because now I can Saga on 1. Yeah, let's Saga on 1. Trigger. Cast Blade of the Blood Chief, pass. And pass. We can make constructs next turn if we want. Parlor, tapped, white, guide. Guide is fine. Attack 1, triggers. Draw. Trigger. Dismember. Imprint. And pass. So I need 2, 4, 5 mana. Clarion Conqueror. Clarion Conqueror is fine. Do I want to interact with Guide of Souls is my question. Because I can K-command, exile Guide of Souls, and ramp. Otherwise, they'll float. And we can get rid of the Clarion Conqueror next turn with the Dismember if we really need or want. That's a consideration. Because I'm not going to care about the construct all too much here. The biggest thing is I don't need to dig right now. I guess actually I do need to dig for a threat though if I do this. Otherwise I just Dismember. 4, 5. Oh wait. Do I just win next turn if I just Dismember? Because I need 2, 4, 5. I need 2 green. 1 green. 2 green. Yeah, I can just win next turn. Never mind. Clarion Conqueror ETBs. Those resolve. Go to end step. You'll attack for however much. 4 or 3, that's fine. We Dismember the Clarion Conqueror. Trigger. And draw. Fire Spout, float. So Springleaf Drum. Carplusa. So this will allow me to cast Broodscale. Yeah, we cast Broodscale, so we cast, adapt, equip, that's 5. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then K command for the win? Yes. Equip. Green. Adapt. Always yield. Always yes. Always yield. And then I'll just announce my opponent. I have K command. And if they want me to go through it, I will go up to 52. So I can look at my entire deck. I have plenty of time with the clock. Opponent will... Oh, what is this? Confirm action? Yes. I appreciate you, Soggish Cheerio, for taking me at my word. But solid win. I mean, this is a good example of the benefit of Lab, because it allowed me to play the Sagon 2 confidently, knowing that I have multiple avenues of attack. We'd be able to make a construct on turn 2 if I needed. We could K-command if I needed. But then we kind of looked at it and went, okay, that's not even necessary, because we can just Springleaf Drum for 5 and go for the turn 3 win. So, solid win against Energy as well. And I think a good example of like when you sometimes just need to ignore what your opponent's doing and focus on your game plan because you're a combo deck first off and foremost, right? If they left off mana for like say Galvanic Discharge, then I'd be a bit more concerned. Maybe I go into a bit more of an interactive plan. Then of course we have Fire Spout available to us, which fantastic card in this matchup. Solid wins. We'll be back for match 3. Alright, we're back for match 3 on the draw for game 1. I'll keep, I'm just missing Basking Broodscale here. We'll pass in full. Go over the Burn Willows, Ancient Stirrings on 1, try and dig for it. Plains, Guided Souls looking like energy again. Draw. Springleaf, okay. Ancient Stirrings. We could go Flesh Raker on 2. That's a consideration. It is also a finisher, so we will grab the Flesh Rake. The question then just becomes whether or not I go for Rumble on 2 or we go Flesh Rake on 2. If Flesh Rake goes uncontested and we find the Broodscale, then we just have the win on 3. If I Rumble and find the Broodscale, I think I also have the win on 3 because Broodscale would just need 2, 4. Oh, I don't think we can have enough though because we have an E-Temp, not a lab, is the problem. So going the Flesh Rake on 2 might be correct here because we try and go Rumble and try and go for the finisher on turn 3, we wouldn't have enough mana because Temple only acts as 1 in that scenario. So we'd only have 3 mana, 4 including a spawn, but we need the spawn to sack to trigger the blade. So in that case, we'll go Temple in the Flesh Rake and then attempt to go off on 3 from there. That makes the most sense to me. Opponents either pause and think or maybe stepped away from their keyboard. So we'll be back once they have returned. Alright, opponent returned. We'll pass in full. Arid Mesa. You know about the Flesh Rake? Flesh Rake might just act as a lightning rod. This in the Johnny, Voice of Victory. Okay. We'll get for 1 by the Guided Souls. That's fine. Down to 19. Draw. One, 2, 3, 4. No, that still wouldn't work. So yeah, I think we Glaring Flesh Raker here. We'll use it as a lightning rod. And pass. If it does survive, then we can do a lot. Springleaf Drum is mana positive, Blade is mana neutral, and we have an Emrakul as well at post Rumble. So we have some good options if Flesh Rake does survive, and even if it doesn't and acts as a lightning rod, that's okay too. Bombardment. So they'll float the Guided Souls. They could just Bombardment the Glaring Flesh Rake. That's probably correct in the grand scheme. They sack both of the warrior tokens to kill the Flesh Rake. Yep. That makes sense. The unfortunate part here is also that they can now do that to my spawns. Yeah. Down to 15. Bombardment is a genuine issue here. Draw. Lab. We could lab imprint Emrakul. What's the benefit of that, though, is the question. I don't know if there is one right away. I guess the benefit is I could play... Yeah, I suppose maybe a lab is good here. Like, I want to just Rumble first. I think maybe Rumbling first is the better play. So we're gonna Rumble. Obviously, they have bombardments. We're probably going to want to just sack the spawn to play Springleaf Drum, to play Blade, etc. I was just going to die anyways. I guess it takes a damage off board, so could still be relevant, I suppose. There's a second Blade. Not really what I want. But there's Devourer. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the Devourer then. Foreign Yard. Lab. Imprint. Devourer. So that's 6, 8, 9. 10. Cast Springleaf Drum. Cast Blade of the Blood Chief. No reason to sack, so again it will eat a damage. That's fine. Bloodstained Mire fetch. So we currently have access to 5, 9. Land next turn will get me 10. Problem is whether or not I can survive long enough to cast this Emerald. Arena of Glory. You could haste something. That would be a bit frightening. Okay, I'm frightened. Consider me frightened. Ragavan dashed, quote unquote. Yeah, I think we lose this. The bombardment alone just convinces me that I have no real way of dealing with the current board state. They should have sacked Flage to Goblin Bombardment and either pinged me or pinged a spawn. That would have been the right move. Well, I guess in retrospect I could have equipped Blade to spawn, so I wouldn't die to bombardment. Yeah, that actually would have been a right move, I think, in retrospect. I guess they would just... No, yeah, that actually would have been a good idea. Whoops. Well, I think I die regardless, don't I? Yeah. Because, like, I'd be forced to block. I'd block here, take 1, 2, 6, 7. Yeah, I think I would have died regardless. Either that would have been really close. 7. Yeah. No, I would have died regardless because they would have 5 left over, and then they would have sacked. Yeah. Okay. No, so it was an untenable situation given the circumstances. Not to mention them able to flip the Yeah, damn. Alright. So that's energy for game, or match 3, loss for game 1. Bombardment's arguably one of the hardest cards to deal with in this deck. Because they can just flood the board with so many things, and it's hard for me to deal with bombardment unless I'm playing the thief, which I can play a thief here, actually. Because, like, we really just don't want to cut any of our 7-mana value spells here, is the problem. Because we want enough to be able to support the lab. I guess we normally would also cut, like, a copy of Rumble for another thief or for Pithy Needle. So again, maybe bringing a Soul Guide Lantern, a Vexing Bauble, a Haywire Mite to the side, cutting a thief down to 1 again might be worth it. The main reason why I have 2 is because I brought one thing main. And I think that was Soul Guide Lantern, so maybe I'd bring that to the side again. I guess the question is, like, what's better? Vexing Bauble main or Soul Guide main? I'm gonna say probably Vexing Bauble main. Soul Guide mainly is for Flage. I guess I'd want to bring in Soul Guide here. So I guess, no, that would still be fine. We would pretty much have this exact same 70 or 61 post sideboard. You cut a Rumble. Rumble would be in the side, one Thief, and yeah, that works. So I think maybe I'll do that. That'd be the one change I make to this version of the list. Yeah, I think that's correct. Because now Thief can deal with Johnny, can deal with Bombardment. I would also like to bring in like a copy of Pithy Needle, but that's just not an option. Like we could go down on the number of 7-minute value spells. I think no matter what though, because of the number that we're playing, we have to play for Devourer. I was like staring at Karstein's article on lab numbers last night. So let me take a look again. Because we really want to try and hit around that 75% mark consistency. And like at the top end, on the draw, we can hit 74.3 with 8. Anything less than that, it's looking pretty iffy. But we're on the play for game 2. I mean, Fire Spout's good. Ugin's decent. The thing is, we really don't have much else. We go I don't know, Grove on 1. Saga on 2. Threaten to make constructs. Have the Fire Spout. Yeah, that's fine, I suppose. And if you're expecting the Fire Spout on 3, maybe we just hold the Saga. Pride. Yeah, probably. Beseiju. So we could go Saga, but I think we go Saga next turn because we're not going to make a construct on 2. I guess we could threaten and try and stabilize the board state. Though we could get absolutely wrecked by a Wear Tear. I'll Saga, trigger, Ballista for 1. And pass. We're just gonna, quote-unquote, stabilize the board state. Try and get them to overcommit the board with Fire Spout. I guess they play on Johnny here. I'm gonna be forced to... Yeah, I'll take 1 from the Pride. Paying cost for Bombardment. In that case, I will... And pass. And draw. Trigger. K command's interesting. Pass. And hold. If they go to cast a Johnny... We could Beseiju the Goblin Bombardment so they can't flip. It's a consideration, though. I just don't like the fact I'm ramping them. Joshua. Discard 2 cards, draw that many. That is okay. Flaged Yard. Pause on end step. I think we're going to try and go for Ugin here. I'm going to ramp. I'm going to X off Flage from Yard. They also are playing White Orchid. Interesting. Done. Flage down, ramp. So we have X to the 4, 5, 6. I'm short 1 for the Ugin, though, which is a bit annoying, admittedly. Pass. Draw. Another K command. Float. I'm thinking. I mean, if they sacrifice Joshua to kill the spawn, I'm not necessarily against it. Springleaf. Land for turn. Rampant Exile. And that's 6. Joshua down. They can ping me for 1 on the 18. And then next turn we should have enough for Ugin. And Ugin then presents a 2-turn clock. Yeah, Besage in case of a static prison. We can make this work. Alright. Worst case scenario here, of course, Wrath of Skies. No Wrath of Skies. And Johnny would be pretty bad. Flage would be bad, depending on how they utilize their triggers. Four in hand. There's a Johnny. Ping me, ping spawns is the question. Bombardment, sack and response. A Johnny, trigger. So right now I have access to 5, 6, 7. So unless they bombardment again, you can still play Oog and get rid of a Johnny. Damn you. So now we have access to 5. Damn. Alright. Draw. E-temp. Play E-temp. So we could Beseiju bombardment. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I will hold. The benefit of that being is that it turns off a Johnny, and I can't use bombardment to ping down my spawns. If they have a castable, they would play it before the Johnny. So I'm going to Beseiju now. Bombardment down. So they should have no red spells or even creatures, I'd imagine, here. So bombardment down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need a land for Ugin. At this point, I'll pass and fold. They'll surveil, I imagine. Really? That's a bit concerning, admittedly. I guess I'll hold in case of Flage, yeah. So Johnny no ping. Pride resolves. And what else? We can always Fire Spout. Discharge in response. Pass in full. Kill me here. So I'd love another K command, but otherwise you might just Fire Spout next turn. Draw. Grow. 3, 4, 5. Of course we would have had if they hadn't discharged. So now the question is, do we Fire Spout now or do I hold? What's the worst case scenario? They play a red permanent, hit me for 4, 6, 7. That red permanent's a Goblin Bombardment. Red. Done. Pass. They would have played more creatures if you had them, I think, so... I guess this is an example. Like, these are examples that people talk about when they're like, well, I'd rather just play a third Emrakul rather than one Ugin. And admittedly, this would be correct here because I had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Actually, I still would have been one short. Now, though, I would have Ugin. Or Emrakul next turn. Blood Moon. Shit. That's kind of fine, but now Johnny's going to be hitting me. We have a green source, thankfully. Target me. Down to 17. Blood Moon's kind of fine here, honestly. Not too worried about that. But I guess I no longer have any colorless, which actually is concerning if you find a Flesh Raker. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So yeah, if Ugin was Emrakul, then I guess next turn without the Blood Moon I could have cast it, whereas right now I wouldn't have been able to. Yeah. I guess that is a consideration. Like, maybe just the third Emrakul is correct. Or these... Like, it probably adds percentage points in some situations and percentage points in other situations. So a little bit of give and take, I suppose. Draw. Blade. Is there any reason to play the Blade right now, though? Probably not. Actually. Broodscale. We play Broodscale. We equip Broodscale. We adapt as 6. We do have 6. So in that case, probably not. That way it doesn't eat a Wear Tear. It doesn't eat a Static Prison. We'll pass. So we're going to take 2 plus 2, so 4 down to 13 at a minimum. Okay. And it's not looking good. Early was hoping for a castable creature or a rumble there. Hell, even a land I would have taken. So Johnny, trigger. 2 down to 15. Cat attack down to 13. This tells me they don't have any creatures in hand, which is a bit concerning because it means they might have interaction. 2 in hand, draw. Shit. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright, we'll pass. We're 1 short of Emrakul because of the Blood Moon. So we're going to take 4 plus 3, 7 down to 6. And if I can play the Emrakul next turn, that would allow me to take their Johnny, hit itself, take a cat, slam it into Emrakul. Yeah. Johnny. Yep. 10, 6. So we need a land for Emrakul. Second main, no creatures, draw. Damn. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the game. I needed a land. I just did not find it. So yeah, I mean, if the Ugin was Emrakul, it wouldn't have mattered because of Blood Moon. We had Emrakul but didn't find a land, so moot points, I suppose. Maybe I was too aggressive with the K command on Joshua, but was not expecting them to just go off of the bombardment. Huh. Because if he had landed the Ugin, we would have been in a really solid spot. We can dismember for only 2... No, we can't Springleaf. Yeah, we can dismember. It doesn't do anything. Confirming 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. One short of the Emrakul. Yep. So I will concede. Unfortunate. Alright, well, we'll be back for match number 4. Alright, and we're back for match number 4 on the draw for game 1. I will take this. The question is, do we go Lab on 1 or Saga on 1? I want to play Fleshraker into Fleshraker, I think. I think we go Lab on 1. Do we pocket the Bauble? I think no, because of... Ooh. Persist. Oh, that's interesting to me. I mean, they didn't pitch anything too important here. We're going to definitely do this. I think I will persist. I'm just trying to think. I'll play the Ballista here. I mean, I guess the Ballista can be used as ram for the Fleshraker. The Bauble can too. What am I worried about here? I don't think Bauble's gonna do much, to be honest. I guess he could hit Force, but that's about it. So maybe just use it as a redraw. Yeah, let's do that. Redraw. Second Ballista will pass. Okay, so a double Ballista could be interesting. Is it a frog? It's a frog. And draw. No reason to Saga right now, I don't think. Unless we draw into a Broodscale, we have 4 hits off top. See, there's an argument for that, I suppose. Otherwise, I can Karplusin. I am half tempted to play a Ballista for a spawn. The reason therefore being is it would mean if they do pitch a Archon and persist it, that I then don't just find myself SOL. Oh, it's a consideration. Otherwise I could Ancient Stirrings here. Oh. Tempted the Saga, but I think I will just play the Fleshrake. Fleshrake and pass. I guess actually in retrospect, maybe there was an argument to play the Saga, because I would have been able to Ballista, and then make a construct theoretically. Push, never mind. Frog hits, draws a card. Could have a counter spell here. Draw. In that case, let's start with Stirrings. See if they counter it. No counter spell, there's Broodscale. I'm gonna take the Broodscale. Saga trigger. Fleshraker. And pass. Alright, Fleshraker on board. Now we need a blade. If they attacked, we block. Okay, moot point, they float. Hit for 1. 7 in hand. They have another push and a 16. Steam Vent Shock to 14. Looting. Draws 2, pitches 2. If I see an Archon on grave, I'm a bit scared. You have the persist? You do. So I need to somehow hold out long enough. Broodscale equip. and a dap will be 5. So I think I pitch a ballista here. The problem is, do I die? Saga trigger. Play a forest. Actually, do we play a forest here? Because, so here's my thought process. As it stands right now, Archon is equivalent of 8 damage. This frog is equivalent of 6. That's lethal on board as it stands. I can K Command X2 to exile the frog and ramp. We sack 1. We drop the forest. 2 adapt are 2 equipped. Okay, I think this works. We do have to do this though. And done. Does this resolve? If it does, we can win. Okay. I will pass. Yes. Because we'll just need 4 mana. The Broodscale to cast, the equip, and then the sack. So we don't need the second green source. So Archon can attack. I'll take the 8. We'll sack a spawn. This is all good. Pitch the forest. So if we survive, and they have no interaction, we win. Frog. I've already used 2 pushes. Pitches an Oculus. Do you have another persist? If you tap down, I win. Undercity Sewers. Trigger. So this is Reanimator, if that was not already obvious. Draw. Float. Alright, let's see if they have a push. Blade of the Bloodchief. Green. Broodscale. Attempt to equip. Do you have push? Son of... I can't do anything meaningful about that. How many pushes did you find? 2? Yeah, only 2, I suppose. Yeah, we'll concede. Nothing I can do about that. So, loss against Reanimator. For game 1. Let's move to sideboard. So, Grixis Reanimator. We want Graph Digger's Cage. We want Soul Guide Lantern. Cut the Vexing Bauble. Cut the Mike. Cut the Gemstone. Ballista. Flesh Rake. Bring in Dismember. Honestly, we can probably bring back in Ballista Flesh Rake. Fire Spout's pretty meh. Thief is pretty meh. Wastecape, we don't have blue. Yeah, we'll run it back like this. On the play for game 2. We're missing lands here, because even if we find the Broodscale, we have a payoff, but we need lands is the problem. And with the Devourer, you want to find Broodscale, not land. So I think I mulligan this. Okay, this is interesting. I will pitch, I think, the lab here. We don't have to worry about graph or persist on 1 or even on earth on 1, so I think we can safely play Stirrings here. Stirrings. There's the Broodscale Saga. Okay. So in that case, I will grab Broodscale. Any order? We do need lands, though, admittedly. We'll pass and pass. Yeah, so I do need to draw into some lands. Polluted Delta. Passing. They could have Consign up. Lab. Summon value spell would be good. Play Saga. Saga Trigger. I mean, I want to play the Grafdiggers. So I will tap Saga for Grafdiggers. See if you have a Consign or a Force. No Consign, no Force. Grafdiggers resolves. Okay. Blue Delta Surveil. Yeah, I would like a E-Temp or some value spell next turn. That way I can K-command the frog they're about to play. Paying cost for Thought Scour. So it's just 1 mana draw card? Yeah, because of the Grafdiggers. That's funny. Draw. Trigger. I mean, shields are down right now. There's no reason not to play the Broodscale, right? I will cast Broodscale. And pass, because this plays around Consign. Of course, they could have push. So that's the one downside of doing this. But we basically force them to have push. We just narrow down what they could have. So if you have push, you have push. If you had Consign, we played around Consign. Because if they have push, they're going to hold up mana regardless. Paying cost for Thought Scour, draw a card. Or I guess they pitched over push. There's Thoughtseize. We have 2 payoffs. So again, unless they have push here, we should win. Don't seize the payoffs, we win. Cool. So let's go to game 3. Actually, how does Grafdiggers read again? Creature cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield. That is really funny. So I can mill over non-creatures spells, but not creatures. Yeah, that's really funny. Okay. I do want my gemstone back, so we'll cut a ballista. And we'll run it back like that. I mean, we can just go for a Fleshraker beats. Yeah, we'll go for it. I'll keep. Pass. Opponent mulligans the 6. Is there a world where you want to play the Saga on 1? I think there is. Just for the anti-graveyard play. So I go Saga, trigger, pass. And just hope they don't persist out an Archon or Oculus before we can get the Grafdiggers on board. Undercity Sewers, okay. And pass. Could have Counterspell, could have Consign, we draw. Trigger. I think I hold up the K command here rather than playing the Fleshraker, just to potentially play around A against counterspells, but B against potential persist play. They whiff. And we can use K command as permission for the Clarion Fleshrake. Yep, we'll do that. Pause on end step. K command X equals 1. See if they want to counter this. There's Consign, so we get a Consign. I'm more than happy to see that. Draw. Float, trigger. Would have liked the land, admittedly. So we do want Grafdiggers. Cage. And I'll attempt to cast the Fleshrake, but I need lands is what I need right now. Pass. Do you have another consign? I desperately need lands. Ugh. Consign number 2. So they have a pretty reactive hand. Scouting Tarn, fetch. Fail. Nope. Blood Crypt, pass. And pass. I need green sources would be solid. Or just a untapped land. Paying cost for Oculus. No, Harbinger. Okay, so I need a forest. I guess we have Dismember. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Okay. I think it makes sense to Dismember now. It forces them to have a force versus a potential counterspell. Pass. Pass, and they can't reanimate it, so makes sense. You have another one? Or do you have a Oculus? There's the Ock. Manifest Dread doesn't work because of Graph Diggers. Meltdown. Interesting. Green source. Thank you. I guess a good question here is, do we go for Flesh Raker? I think we start with Flesh Raker first. Let's start with Flesh Raker and then pass. We'll take 5 down to 11 though. We're in a bit of a spot. Paying cost for Meltdown, that's rude. Take 5 down to 11. Manifest Dread will work this time. Trigger. Archon and Yard. Yikes. There's Lab. I'm gonna Stirrings first to gain a life. There's Broodscale. Oh. Grab Broodscale. Do we play Lab now? I'm gonna say yes. Play Lab, no imprint. We have 7 types in Yard, I'll pass. We'll take 7 down to 4, unless they persist the Archon, in which case I'm in a bad position. I'll pass. Paying cost, Thought Scour again. We have a persist. Paying cost for what? Or not? Combat 7. 7 down to 4 will take. I was not expecting the Meltdown from the side, I'll be real. I guess it explains the red-ish. Paying cost for persist on Harbinger. Shit. So I don't think I have a way out then. Draw. You have to be actually joking. We had the win. Yeah. Because we cast Blades, mana neutral, Broodscale, it's a -1. We sack to equip, sack and win. The Harbinger just saved them. Damn. If this was a forest, if this... Alright, yeah, if any of these were forest, it wouldn't matter. Alright, well, not much I can do about that, so we will concede. The Meltdown hitting the Grafdigger's Cage was huge. Alright. Well, is what it is. That and also just us not finding a land for as long as we did was kind of rough, so give and take, I suppose. With that being said, we'll be back for match 5. Alright, and we're back for match 5 on the draw for game 1. I'll reveal Devourer and pass. Our flooded strain, fetch. Is this energy? Let's see. Looking like it. Ragavan, Alsop Pride, or Guided Souls. It is a Ragavan. Not thrilled to see you here, friend. See, on turn 1 I was really hoping to play Ancient Stirrings, but now I think I might go... Do I want any of this? Maybe... Like, E-Temp isn't necessarily bad. Right, we could go E-Temp. Otherwise... Like, we're gonna have 7 off Devourer. Go E-Temp. Double green is necessary if we do want to go Broodscale Adapt on the same turn. Because E-Temp, Broodscale Adapt requires double green. I'll take the Carplucin here, since we are short on green sources overall. We'll draw, play the E-Temp, and there's no reason not to play the Bauble here. We'll pass. It's not going to do anything in the matchup, but we'll use it as a redraw later. Oh, interesting. This is Zoo then. So Ragavan hits. Those overgrown 2 are normally used in Zoo. Flash Rager, I don't like that as my payoff. So now we do need to play around Stubborn Denial. White, green, Brawler. Draw. Broodscale. Okay, this is interesting now. The only problem is I don't have a payoff, but we do have the Stirrings. So, if I were to do what? What could I do here to make this work out the way I want it to? Again, I'm a bit worried about a Stubborn Denial for one. Play the E-Temp. Because we could just ignore their game plan, go for the K command, scry draw, try and find a payoff that way for the Broodscale, try and find a Blade. Otherwise, we can then Devour the next turn. I'll pass. They don't have a blue source other than the treasure. Well, they have a denial, I have to burn the treasure regardless. Flooded Strand. Well, that's no longer true. Brawler does have trample. I mean, they're going to attack with both regardless. The question is whether or not I scry draw ramp or I ramp exile. The next question, of course, is whether or not they have a Leyline Binding, a Bolt, a Stubborn Denial, etc., right? So they could have a ton of interaction here. Done. Do you have a Denial? There's also a chance they even run main deck and sign. The main deck and sign is not as common, though I do sometimes see it as a one-off. Fleshraker Soul Guide. I'm gonna say bottom top because that is a payoff. Go to blocks. We'll crack the Bauble because, like I said, it's not doing much. So we get another draw. Bolt. Sack. Interesting. Crack bauble of draw. K command. Okay. Go to blocks. Block the Ragavan and pass. Bloodstrand fetching. Why do that now? I guess for the extra damage on Brawler. So it pushed me down to 13 rather than 14. They probably put in a Triome, I imagine. I guess they just need a blue source. Yeah. So something with Island. Steam Vents. Shock down to 12. Interesting. On a 13, do you have a Tribal Flames? That would be annoying, admittedly. And the Coddle. Draw. Why shock that in, though? That's annoying. Throw the Burn Willows. No, never mind. I can't do what I want to do. So we could just Ancient Stirrings. Now it's Ancient Stirrings, try and find a Blade. Down to 13, no Blade. There's Devourer, there's Ugin. Ugin intrigues me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but not gonna be enough. So I'm thinking maybe go Lab. We could go Lab. Oh, why did I... Okay. I accidentally, for some reason in my mind, I was like a K command, because I was thinking about casting K command, and I just clicked. And unlike Rumble where it confirms, Ancient Stirring just puts it into your hand. That's unfortunate. That might hurt me later. We'll see on that one. We'll pass. We're going to play the K command now. Go to combat again. They'll attack. So I think I ramp Scrydraw again. We can block the Nakatl, we can block the Ragavan. And done. Ballista, Ballista. Bottom, bottom. Draw. Emrakul. Emrakul's interesting. Yeah, if I grabbed the lab, I could have played a Devourer, theoretically. Block. If we take 8, then we're potentially to die to Tribal Flames. On the 8. Kavu. They're keeping up a white source, which does make me fear for a Leyline binding, admittedly. Draw. Stirrings. Stirrings. There's the Blade, but is that enough right now? Blade of the Blood Chief. So we play the Karplusin. We can cast the Broodscale. We can cast the Blade. That's not enough. I can play the Flesh Rake. Play Drum. So if you play Flesh Rake, Drum is mana positive. Yes. And it can act as green. So if I cast Flesh Rake first here. Flesh Rake. I don't think I have enough, admittedly. Springleaf Drum triggers. Paying costs, do you just have a Leyline Binding? You do. So we get a spawn. Again, it's mana positive. We can tap it. So if that wasn't a binding, we'd be able to tap for green. Broodscale, trigger, get another spawn. Blade, yeah, we had it if they didn't have the binding. At this point, we concede, right? Because we can now play the Broodscale, we can play the Blade, but we can't equip it, nor can we sack. So I will concede to Zoo. Okay. So Zoo lost for game 1. Did I get burned by not grabbing the lab? If this was a lab, if this was a lab, I'd add 1 extra mana. Green. Broodscale. We'd have 1, 2. Still no. I would have had 1 extra mana. Oh, I guess actually... No. If it was a lab, I still would not have had enough to win. Because 1 extra... Green, 1, cast, equipped. Yeah. We would ensure we would have needed the Walking Ballista that we passed over. Okay. Okie dokie. Oh, let's go to sideboard. This seems right. We want the Wastscape. All's Dust is good. Haywire Might is decent. Soul Guide is there. Yes, this seems correct. What do we cut though if we make it to game 3? Probably the Might. Yeah, it seems reasonable. No green source, no land other than Saga. If we find a green source though, it's not bad, because we do get the Blade. I'll keep relying on Devour as a green source though, which I'm not thrilled about. Trigger. Do we whiff? We hit. We'll grab the Carplucin. Saga, trigger, Springleaf Drum. And pass. And pass. Flooded Strand, passing, draw. So what we'll do here, Saga trigger, Carplucin, Rumble. Do you have a Stubborn Denial? Like, we could have played the Stirrings, I suppose, to play around the Denial. But they didn't have the Denial, we were going to be able to go pretty deep here. I wonder if it was worth playing the Stirrings there. pass. We have access to 1, 2, 3. 3 mana. It's not gonna be enough for next turn, though. We draw into the 4th even. We can cast the Broodscale, we can equip, but we can't adapt. Unless it is specifically a temple or lab, in which case we'd have 5, which is enough to cast, adapt, equipped. So yes, but then we don't have a payoff. We'd have the Devourer at most. Brawler. Draw. K command. Float. For Blade of the Bloodchief, cast Ancient Stirrings. There's Lab. I'll take the Lab. Any order. Lab, Imprint, Devourer. Okay, command here for X equals 1. Not thrilled about it, but best thing I can really do right now to set up for next turn, because I need a payoff. Wastegate is not it, so we'll bottom Wastegate, draw. There's Ballista. Ballista is a payoff. Alright, we'll pass. I guess maybe I should have equipped the Spring Leaf to the spawn. Not that I think it's relevant here. They're not going to be sacking creatures of their own. So we'll pass. Do they tap down is the question. They brought in Consign. They have Bolt. They have Leyline. So they have a ton of interaction. Planes. The best case scenario is that they have a Leyline binding. We have the Wastegate to deal with it. Down to 13. Bolt. In response. Pass in full. Bold move caught him. Draw. Devourer. So I can, at this point, cast Broodscale. I can equip Blade to Broodscale, and then I can Ballista. I will cast Broodscale. So we could attempt to equip. The benefit of this is that I then get to play a Devourer, right? I will attempt to equip. There's the binding. Okay. So that works out then. We'll pass. We can Wastegate Battle Mage the binding. But it would be much worse if it was a Bolt by comparison. But I guess that you wouldn't have Bolt because no red. So that's fine. We'll take 5 down to 7. Not great, because it does put us into some awkward positioning. Especially as this card Loosen is going to hit me for 1. So I'm actually down to 6. Down to 7. Draw. Fleshraker. Fleshraker's not enough right now. If this resolves, though, that's a different story. Trigger. Exile Binding. Does it resolve? Or do you have a Consign? Consign would suck. But if this resolves, we can equip Blade. And if they have no interaction, we can Ballista. They have Consign. Oh, cycle? That's fine. Please don't fetch. Oh god, please don't fetch. Okay, that lands. Did he draw into a bolt? No. Springleaf Drum. Tap the Wasescape. Equip. Ballista for 0. Did we get there? Trigger. Always yield. Always yes. Always yield. Alright. What? Why are we doing this now? Temple Garden Shock? What the? Oh. Again? What is happening? Flash Raker? Okay. Were they just trying to burn time? I'm just very confused at the thought process here. I mean, like, I'm gonna go for it. So I'll take the win for game 2. We do want our gemstone back. So the question now is, what do we cut? The Soul Guide or the Might? I think the might be more impactful by comparison. Yeah, run it back like this. Alright, let's see if we can get the 3-2 record at the end of 5. We just need to win this last game. Here is open. Good opening hands. I mean, it's not bad. It's not great either, admittedly. We're needing to find the Broodscale. He has an interaction. We have K command. I'll keep it. We'll pass. Opponent also begins with 7, which I'm a bit concerned about if they turn 1 Ragavan. Turn 1 Ragavan, by and large, is going to be the worst case scenario for us, no matter what. Pledge Strand and fetch. Yeah, turn 1 Ragavan. Or, woo. Gruul? Tameo? Wild Coddle, that's right. I forgot you're on the Coddle. Interesting that you wouldn't go for, like, a red-green. Wasescape is nice to see. You'll gain a life. Ancient Stirrings. There's Blade. There's Drum. There's Lab. The benefit of Lab here, of course, is that if we draw into a 7-mana value spell, we can either K Command or Flesh Rake, so I think we go for the Lab. That would probably make the most sense. I will pass. And pass. Because now means we have 8, 12 hits off top for a Flesh Rake or K Command on 2. Yes, we'll take the 1. You're holding up the Flooded Strand, though. You're not fetching to increase damage. It's not like I can interact. No. They went for blue specifically, which makes me think they have Consign. Oof. In that case, we'll play the Karplusin. I guess I should have actually waited to play the Karplusin. Oh, Ancient Stirrings again. There's the Basking Broodscale. Okay. So we assemble all the pieces. Playing a Blade of the Bloodchief here, I do fear that I'm playing directly into Consign. So I almost want to use the Flesh Raker as bait for Consign to Memory. That seems right. We can play it next turn. Floodstrand fetch to 18. Triumphs and Nakado's online. We'll pass. Would love to see a 7-mana value spell off top. Windswept Teeth. 3 down to 16. I'm holding. Draw. Another Carplucin. Play the Carplucin. I wonder if maybe K commanding the Coddle might be better. Let's go for that route instead. Windswept Teeth, fetch, Surveil. Sacred Foundry. Do you have not play Surveil? What the hell? Alright. Wooded Foothills. 5 in hand. Another Nakata. Okay. Begin combat. K command X1. I'm going to ramp and exile. We have all the pieces we need. I just need to slow them down. And also to bait out interaction. Let's see if they value this Nakata enough to consign, knowing that we have the Broodscale in hand. I think they also know about the Blade, actually. That's a bit unfortunate. Plains, Swamp. They don't have a blue source, but they do have a fetch. E-Temp. Interesting. Play the E-Temp. Cast Glaring Fleshrake. Does Fleshrake resolve? Okay. Does Blade of the Bloodsheaf resolve? Okay. I guess we go for the Basking Broodscale. If we do, we have enough to win this turn. They know about the Broodscale. If they have a bolt, they have a bolt. I can't do anything about that. Always yield. Leyline Binding. On the Blade of the Bloodchief. Okay. Broodscale ETBs. And at this point, I'll pass in full. We have the Wastegate Battlemage for next turn to get rid of the Binding. So unless they have removal in addition to the Binding, we're okay. Maybe I could have delayed a turn. Yeah, they have bolts. It didn't matter. I don't know if the binding on the blade made sense then. Overgrown Tomb, shock to 13. Why would you shock there? Exile Draco. We can exile Draco. Trample. So no blocks. No point in blocking. The 13. Draw. No blue sources. They still have that fetch. Let's see here. I will... It's a fine line between wanting to deal myself 1 damage and gain them 1 life. Stirrings. There's another Glaring Fleshraker. Any order. Ugin's Lab. No imprint. Cast Fleshraker. Triggers. Cast Wascape. Deal 1 damage to me. Battle Mage, target Draco. Pass in full at this point. Draco down. This will be a significant amount of damage on board. Another 2, down to 6. We'll push him down to 4. We have blockers for the Nicotl. So now we have lethal on board, down to 5. Surveil. Temple Garden tapped. Okay. I feel like they might not play Surveil lands. Wild. Passing. Did we get there? Brawler, that's fine. I'll block with a spawn. If I draw into a colorless spell, I win. Draw. There's Ballista. Play Lab, trigger, no imprint. X equals 3. So even if, for some reason, the Fleshrager counters get, or the Fleshrager triggers get countered, I should still win. Well, I guess, no, they would be able to counter all 3, so. Regardless, though, we were able to get there. Oof, some close games there, but we got there in the end. So that there is a 3-2 record at the end of 5. So, I mean, I think we did see on a few occasions where the deck is definitely strained for green sources, and that's my main concern for the lab version. Now, there are ways to try and mitigate this. Run fewer numbers of lab. We could run fewer 7-mana value sources, but then that puts a strain on lab. So there's some give and take. I wonder if maybe 3 labs is okay. We could then bump the number of green sources we have up from, I think, 10 to 11. And that makes it better. We still consider the 4 Devourers as green sources as a result. But, like, the deck really craves, I think, like 15-ish green sources. The thing is, like, by treating the Devourers as lands, it kind of messes with the calculations, whereas if the labs were just lands, I guess I could just do that, like consider the labs green sources instead and try and run the numbers that way. I suppose. I'm actually kind of curious on that now. I kind of want to run the numbers while I'm recording. So let me run the numbers. Hold on. I'm curious because technically, if each Devourer counts as a green source, then maybe that's enough. It's messy. The math is very messy for the lab version. I do think maybe bringing back a Rumble would be good as well. So maybe cutting either Bobble or Soul Guide main and putting it back in the side, which I think is fine. We just cut a Thief, which we brought main by... I forget what we cut for that, actually. Let's take a look here. So we treat that as green. Then yeah, if we just treat Ugin's Lab as green, let's say theoretically. I mean, that is enough. If we treat Ugin's Lab as green, basically, you know, Devourer is acting as 4 green sources, but they're not actually lands themselves, right? Then it kind of works, because then we're running an equivalent of 14 green sources with 15 in the deck. So that kind of makes the math work. If I ran this as 3 instead, I guess it'd still be 4 if you run 4 Devourers. and like what? I don't know, bump up the number of Karplusin to 3. That'd still be 14. It would be enough. But again, the Devourers are acting as green sources. So I don't know. I don't like, maybe this is enough. Yeah. Because even if we treated Devour as green, then we're technically running 15 green sources still. Technically 27 quote-unquote lands. We could definitely go down on the number of labs. If I don't, then running 14. And then the only card that kind of gets strained to be played on curve is Ancient Stirrings at 89%. But if we have a hand without a green source and a Devourer, then really just banking, no green sources in opening hand, Devour an opening hand, and an Ancient Stirrings. And then we're just heavily banking on seeing that green source off the top with Devourer. That's the only problem that I see with this. So, I do like Lab. I like playing the 7 mana value spells. I think there is an argument for me cutting the Ugin and playing the 3rd Emrakul. We saw it in this league where that might be necessary, or an argument could be made for it. So there is that. I do like Ugin. I like the diversity that provides, but there are times where it is a bit, but it can definitely lose you percentage points. Because if we had drawn into a land, and the Ugin was Emrakul, and the opponent didn't play the Blood Moon, then we could have paid the Emrakul and gotten out of that jam, right? So, give and take, give and take. But regardless, the deck feels good. I do like the addition of All's Dust, of course. I think one All's Dust is always a good addition for these type of decks. I think the only thing that I might consider, as I've mentioned before, is cutting a Soul Guide Lantern main, bringing back Sign, cutting a Thief, or putting it back in the side, cutting a Thief in the side for it, then bringing the 4th Rumble main. That does open up another card that we can trim on when we're sideboarding, which I think is important here. And I think because of how tight the deck is right now, it's hard to justify bringing in 2 Thief of Existence, let alone 1 at times. So I think that flexibility would be worth it. Otherwise, I'm not sure if there's too much I would change here. I know that other versions have got red entirely, allowing them to free up some other sideboard slots away from Whip Flare. No, not Whip Flare. Fire Spout. I don't know. I like Fire Spout. I think it has utility into energy, obviously, both for Clarion Conqueror and just for good sweeper. So, things to think about there. Not sure what else I would change. And I still don't know if Lab is better than the Lighted Halfling by comparison. So, there's a lot of considerations. The nice thing about Halfling, doesn't strain the mana base as much. We don't have to play as many 7 mana value spells. We can still play 3 Devourers, though at that point we're only playing, 1, 2 Emrakuls at most. So there's some give and take to consider. Yeah, there's a lot to think about on what's the optimal list for Broodscale. Though I'm not entirely sure if Broodscale's the best deck for the meta right now, though it's definitely been putting up results. But tomorrow we are going to be playing Eldrazi aggro again. I'm trying to think if there's any major shifts there. I think the biggest shift that I'll talk about tomorrow is that I am going to be cutting Glaring Fleshraker from the deck. The numbers on Fleshraker are atrocious. So I think we cut Fleshraker. We also cut Worldbreaker, as that was not performing well in aggro, and instead increasing the number of Null Drifters and Cyrus 7 Deaths instead. So that's kind of the direction we've went there with aggro. We also brought 3 Chalice main from the side. Now I just need to think about what I want to put in the sideboard, as we had Chalice on the side and now bringing it main, as Chalice's numbers were actually really good, funny enough. So now we have Wastegate main again, we have Anti-Causal, which is fun. Null Drifter's numbers have been good. We bumped Devour up to 4 copies, Sour up to 3. So just trying to figure out the right combination of cards to make the deck really fire on all cylinders. But with that being said, I will end my idle prattling. As always, if you guys did enjoy today's video, please do consider hitting the like button, comment down below if you did see any lines that I missed, any mistakes that I made, or any general feedback would be much appreciated. For as much as I hope that you all learn from me in both my success and failures, I hope I can learn from you all as well. Last but not least, if you have reached this point in the video and haven't already, please do consider hitting the subscribe button as we're getting closer and closer to our next goal of 1,000 subscribers. At which point we'll be able to start monetizing these videos, allow me to start saving up for a streaming PC so I can stream live over on Twitch. In the meantime though, if you do want to support me monetarily, you can do so over my Patreon where you get early access to my YouTube videos. That being said though folks, I will see y'all next time. Bye bye!